What una storia segreta is. Anybody? Raise your hand if you don't know una storia segreta. It's a little remembered fact that there were concentration camps for Italian immigrants in the United States during World War II, similar to those in which Japanese immigrants were incarcerated. 600,000 Italian immigrants were detained in detention camps compared to 120,000 Japanese. So wherever I go, I always find there are a few people who still haven't heard this history. And I've read this poem here before, so forgive me if you've heard it before. It traveled with the traveling exhibit of photographs and paraphernalia from Una Storia Segreta by Distasi. Don't speak the language of the enemy, reads the poster at the end of a gray alleyway of childhood, where the raggedy guineas of Newark whisper quietly in their dialects on concrete steps, far from blue skies, olive groves, or hyacinths. Bent in a shadow toward the last shafts of sunlight, above tenement roofs, Grandpa Galileo sadly sips homemade wine, hums moaning with his broken mandolin. Children play hide and seek in dusty evening streets as red sauce simmers hour after hour on coal stoves, garlic, oil, crushed tomatoes blended with precious pinches of salt and basilico, a pot that must last a week of suppers. The father's hands with blackened fingernails are worn rough with wrought iron, bricks laid, ditches dug, glass etched. Wilted women in black cotton dresses wait in twilight, calling their restless children to scrubbed linoleum kitchens. In cold water flats with tin tables, stale bread is ladled with sauce, then baked to revive edibility. Clothes soak in kitchen laundry tubs, washboards afloat. Strains of radio opera are interrupted by war bulletins. The poster pasted on the fence at the end of the block, streaked with setting sun and rain, reads, "Don't speak the language of the enemy." But the raggedy guineas can speak no other, and so they murmur in their rooms in the secret dark, frightened of the camps where people like them are imprisoned in the new land of golden opportunity. They whisper of Mussolini's stupidity, stifling the mother tongue, wounding the father's pride, urging their children to speak English by daylight, telling each other, "We are Americans. God bless America." There was a tremendous amount of suffering during that period. Homes were confiscated, jobs were lost, cars were taken, cameras, radios. Children were uprooted from their schools, and many were in camps as well. They had to wear, it was almost like wearing a yellow star in Hitler's Germany, right here in America. And so there are always a few people who don't know about it, and it's the reason why I never learned to speak Italian as a child born in World War II as I was. Here's one more shorter poem called An American Dream for Daniela Gioseffi, 1905 to 1918. My father in his casket felt hollow to the touch, laid out in his one good suit, respectable for La Familia. I tried to turn him, as he'd asked, onto his one good hip before burying him in his small crypt. The others gone at last, I bowed before him my goodbye, then tried to turn him a little to one side. The undertaker hurried to assist, not wanting me to ruin his artwork. My father's lame right leg bore a distorted hip from a fall when he was 2 in a one-goat village of the old country, Apulia on the Adriatico. Dying, he joked, "My right hip hurt me all my life. I don't want to rest on that pain through eternity." I took him seriously, though we had no faith in eternity. "He looks good," Dr. Di Felice said, as if it mattered. It was a modest funeral for a small lame man whose labor was large. Everyone in the room, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, had been fed by him through the Great Depression. Too often I remember that his body felt hollow, and I wished I'd never felt that he seemed light enough to fly away forever. He'd loved books, Dante, Shakespeare, Voltaire, Rabelais. He dreamed of being a writer. Even in death, I wanted him to see that if he'd been called a guinea gimp at school, I was better than the son he'd longed for. To carry on the name, he'd say. I wanted him to know I'd put his name on books in the Library of Congress to fulfill his dream to carry on the name as well as any son. We always think about how the woman suffered in Italian patriarchal culture, but not enough attention is paid to the eldest son of that generation, who often carried the burden of the family and squelched his own dreams to do so. So that's a nice theme to write about. I hope you'll come to my reading with Maria Mazziotti Gillen, March 29th, here, same place, same time, but a Tuesday, March 29. Please come, I have flyers. Oh, and I have a book and a CD if you